Those of us in the 484th Bomb Group Association that have been going to reunions for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably met him over the last couple of years in these combined reunions. John Billings was born in Winchester, Massachusetts in 1923, took his first plane ride in 1926 at the age of 3. His first flying lesson was in August 1938 at the age of 15. In a Taylor Cub. He graduated Scituate High School, class of 1943, and then joined in the Air Corps and served from 1942 to 1947. He flew 14 bombing missions with the 44th Bomb Group, and then he flew 39 missions with the OSS, dropping supplies and agents all behind enemy lines. He received the Distinguished Flying Cross during World War II for a well-known covert mission called Operation Green Up, chronicled in a 2012 documentary film called The Real Inglorious Bastards. And if you ever get a chance to see that film, check it out. John's got a nice little cameo in there. He was an airline pilot from 1947 to 1983, 1 year for TWA and 35 years for Eastern as a DC-9 captain. He's been flying Angel flights regularly, at least one a week, I think, for many years, since 2005, as a matter of fact. In 2006, he was awarded the Wright Brothers Master Pilot Award by the FAA, and he was named Angel Flight Mid-Atlantic Pilot of the Year 2013 and 2014. Angel Flight is volunteer pilots who take people around to medical appointments, people that can't, fly long distance on commercial planes and so forth. So he's been doing that a long time. He's a member of the UFOs, the United Flying Octogenarians, aviators over age 80. In 2012, he transported a World War II veteran who had served as a weatherman advising General Eisenhower in England to New York on the first leg of his return to Normandy for a D-Day reunion. In 2015, he received the prestigious Endeavor Award, honoring volunteer pilots who provide free transportation for medical and humanitarian needs. His name is on the Wall of Honor at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, and he's logged over 29,000 hours since 1938 with 2,700 in his Cessna Cutlass 172RG, and he's still flying pretty much weekly. See his website all the time showing his latest Angel flight. So please help me welcome John Billings.
Thank you, Dick. I have a question. Raise your hand if you served with the 85th Heavy Special Squadron as well. I feel alone. I will talk a little about Green Up. I'm not going to talk about what happened after they left my airplane, because that's documented enough. Just Google Green Up mission. You'll be flooded with information. Let's see if you can hear me with this. I can do it. Is that okay, or do you want me to hold it? It's okay? Okay. The normal operating for the missions that we send people out of the bottom of the airplane over beyond the enemy line, We would get in the airplane, prepare the cockpit, start up the engines, taxi out to the end of the runway. Now, every mission in which there was an agent on board that was not going to come back with us was at night. Most of the rest of the supply missions were at night as well, until late in the war when Luftwaffe was practically gone. We would wait at the end of the runway, and in due time a truck would come out, and the bomb bay was left open for the agents, and they would get in the bomb bay, turn aft. We would never see them. And then they'd close the bomb bay, and pretty soon somebody would come around and say, it's all clear, so we could go, and we'd get takeoff clearance and go on a mission. We would never see them. The front crew would never see them. This particular mission, however, we got up into the Alps where we were going, and the weather was just absolutely covering every mountain. And it was too dangerous to just drop them out based on the navigator's position. So we start back. We get a radio message that says, don't come home. Go to a base. It's coded name then, but I'll give you the actual name. Russia's Nano. And it was on the Mediterranean side of Italy, north. It was a little bit southwest of Pisa, to give you an idea where it was. And of course, we got there, it was still dark. We got our billet, everything. We got up. We met the Joes because we were not supposed to learn names. We were not supposed to talk to them even. But this time they were there. We did meet them. And there were 3 of them who were going to stay, and a 4th one that was going to come back with us. That was the OSS dispatcher that they wanted to go with, the 3. I'm going to use their names because I did learn them later on, but I didn't know them then. The team leader, the master spy, Fred Mayer. The radio operator was a Dutch boy, and his name was Hans. And then there was a German, I'm probably insulted him. He is an Austrian, and he was a career officer in the Austrian army when Nazi came in. And his name was Franz Weber. And he was a resident of Innsbruck. This was the destination of the spy. He was going to go downtown and find out everything that he was told to find out. And he was quite the dapper Dan, I'll tell you. He had fantastic stories. We finished our breakfast, and we found out that the P-38 camera plane came back early and said, no way, there's no way, you can't see anything. You can't even see the tops of the mountains. So we didn't do anything but socialized. Fred had a million stories. I didn't know at the time that most of them were fabricated, but that's okay. One of the ones was he was talking how well and how many of the airplanes that he flew, and he loved the different things. He convinced me, and the navigator said, well, since we're off, I'd like to go out and calibrate the instrument some more. So I said, Fred, do you want to come along and fly it? He said, sure. So he sat in the co-pilot seat, and for weight and balance, we had a tail gunner, and some sandbags, and a flight engineer, Fred and I. That's it. I took off, got the wheels up. I said, "Okay, Fred, your airplane." And as I mentioned, Russick was right on the water, so he flew out over the bay. He knew we fly low, so he didn't put any more power on. Flew across the harbor at 100 feet, right across the tops of little sailboats that were rocking after we passed, and then up a little cut in the mountain, right up over a nice chalet, which I found out after the fact was served as the headquarters of Russick. And he pulled up, he made a turn that Brickover would have loved with the B-24. Well, we flew around a little bit more, calibrated the instruments for the navigator, and landed. And the next day, P-38 said, no, you can't go. Well, we did nothing but socialize. Now, my bombardier was second generation German, and he could speak fluent German because the household did. I didn't know it at the time, but Fred and Dick, my bombardier, were exchanging names, and I'll put that to the end here. But that's how I ultimately found out their names. The fifth day, is that right? Yes, the fifth day, they said it's going to be a go. And the dispatcher and Fred had rubbed their heads together and pored over the maps and found an alternate in case the primary, which was a frozen over lake at 10,000 foot level, southwest of Innsbruck. And we were to deposit them on that lake and then come back, and if they were still there, they would signal us and we would give them their supplies, mostly clothes, skis, radio equipment. We got there, absolutely, it was right down below us. That's what the navigator said. Couldn't see anything. Total white up. In fact, the stars were making beautiful marks all over the top of the clouds. So I told the navigator to direct us to the alternate, which was at a lower level on the far side of the mountain. And they had found a kind of a plateau sticking out of the side of the mountain that they figured that they could land on. Right after I pulled the power off a little bit to go down and nosed it over, right then I remembered the briefing officer told me about the fact that there was going to be very high winds, maybe even as much as 200 miles an hour, coming from the north. And what happened, the wind lines came across the top of the mountain and went down the valley, which took us with it. We were going down too fast, not by indicated, not by airspeed, but going too fast, feet per minute. And so I put the power back up. It wasn't enough, so I put the power back up to maximum continuous rating. That's 1,000 horsepower across. That wasn't enough, so I pushed it up to takeoff horsepower. It was 1,200 across, not enough. You know what they say when you get into an accident or automobile accident, it seems like everything slows down for you.